What's good? This is your boy Tico, Tren, SYSBM, and this podcast is going to be about having standards. Um, Things that I've noticed that about people in general is how they always make excuses for not wanting to improve themselves or improve upon themselves. They'll make up every excuse in a book to basically say something to the extent of, well, because something that happened in the 1960s or something that happened in the 1800s, this is why I can't do what I need to do. The sad part about that is, at the end of the day, you have to realize as a human being, just because something happened in the 1800s, that doesn't mean it still directly affects you till the day. Don't get me wrong, there are psychological fallouts from that, but it's your duty to actually improve upon that and make yourself a better human being. Because at the end of the day, you have to have standards, no matter how much you look at it, no matter how much, no matter what the fuck's going on in your life, you have to have standards. Because at the end of the day, what you can't do is sit up here and sit up here and pretend like, pretend as if you're the one that's suffering, or you're the one that's, you're the only one, or, you, 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 you're carrying all this pain or all this weight or all this other stuff, when in fact you're not. You're actually just carrying. You're doing nothing more than being a repetitive stereotype for all intents and purposes. Let you be any type of person you want. Let you be black, white, Chinese, Puerto Rican, or Asian. It doesn't really matter. You're basically perpetuating a stereotype within yourself. Because the sad part about that is everybody always use these as crutches so they can actually continuously do the dumb things that they do, and it sucks when they do that. The sad part about it is you're removed from that generation. You're far removed from that generation, and there's ways to actually improve yourself. There's transportation, unlike back in the day, where like you literally had to have a horse-drawn buggy or had to have money to actually get some damn where. You can always jump on a bus and go some damn where. For all intents and purposes, nowadays, there's always that. And the sad part about that is everybody has lost their drive to improve themselves. Everybody has lost. Everybody has an ego for the worse instead of an ego for the better. It's funny how everybody, because I remember saying to somebody, it's funny how all the people who become successful or succeed in life never use this shit as a crutch or an excuse to actually for why they can't succeed in life, or why they're there. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, what is it about us that makes us want to do that? Why is it so that we always want to put ourselves in predicaments or put ourselves in situations that are pointless and meaningless for all intents and purposes? Because the sad part about that, something I've noticed about that, is we do this shit so often. It's real ridiculous how we can sit up here and act like, well, this, that, and the other, Tico, and it's because of this. This is the reason why this. The sad part about that is when it comes down to it. Sad part about it when it comes down to it, it it makes you look like a dumbass, and it basically makes you look like you're. It basically makes you look like you're not even trying or you don't want to try. And the problem with that is if you're going to look like you're not going to want to try, you're always going to end up in a world of hurt, or you're always going to end up wondering why life is passing you by for all intents and purposes. This is typically one of the many reasons why black people get into the messes that they get into. The sad part about that is when it happens so fast. It happens so fast. It happens so fast that, it's one of those things where it happens so fast. It's one of those things where it's like you're trying to figure out what's going on and you can't quite put your finger on it, and you're wondering why it's happening at the same damn time. And nobody ever wants to make the necessary changes. Nobody ever wants to make the necessary changes to better themselves. They just want to make all the excuses up or use all the historical excuses to always live in squalor or live life or live life stupidly, if you know what I mean. It's one of those things where it's like, well, if they'll use everything in their power to not want to, they'll use everything in their power to not want to better themselves, because it's almost like, almost like they're trying to, it's almost like they're trying to always act a certain way or be a certain way for all intents and purposes. The sad part about that is it's very sad. It's very sad to watch a black person screw itself over. It's very sad to watch black people destroy themselves. It's very sad to watch this stuff. And the sad part about that, that makes it, the thing that makes it so sad and the thing that makes it so ridiculous is how much black people use this use this as an excuse to always want to do bad, or use this as an excuse to always want to live in a position of lesser, or use this as an excuse to always not want to improve, or use it as an excuse not to want to better themselves or be a better human being. It's funny. It's very funny how that works. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it's basically it's basically a it's basically a big ass cycle or a big ass loop that you got yourself caught into. I think the funniest thing about it is how black people will always sit up here and use historical shit as a crutch, or they'll sit up here and they'll make it so that anything they do is just and good, or anything they do is, you know, anything they do is just like, it's kind of weird, and it's funny at the same time for the for reasonings being that they always it's like they always just use excuses. It's like, why are you using excuses? Why is there no solutions? Why is there no freaking why is there no goal to better yourself? Why is there no goal to always want to improve upon yourself? Why is there no goal to, you know, do better with your community? Why is there no goal to help out in your community or better your community, or, you know, help out the youth in your community? Why is there no goal? Why are you letting everybody go to squalor? Why are you letting your neighborhood go to squalor? Why are y'all not making any unity? Why are y'all not making any advances towards the unity community? What is up with y'all motherfuckers that y'all have to do this shit so y'all can actually act like, you know, all this stuff is okay to do? And the thing that bothers me the most about black people the most is how they always, 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 always want to use, oh well, systemic racism. Okay, yeah, systemic racism is what had you killing each other, because that makes a lot of sense. Systemic racism is the same reason why, you know, people like, you know, Sidney Poitier and Cicely Tyson and, you know, Morgan Freeman's and your, you know, your Denzel Washington's is, you know, stars today. You know, because you know, systemic racism. Systemic racism is the reason why, you know, Kobe Bryant and your Michael Jordans and your, you know, your LeBron Jameses and your Hardings and all them motherfuckers exist today. Yeah, because of systemic racism. Because that makes a lot of sense. Because the sad part about that is, something I've noticed about black people is when they can't succeed at something, they'll make excuses for why they can't succeed in anything else. Because the thing about black people that I've noticed is they reach for one thing only, one, maybe two things only. And when they don't get it, they make up excuses on why they can't do something else. That's simply how it works. And the sad part about that is when it happens, it's like the saddest, most ridiculous shit in the whole entire world. And I think the only thing that bothers me about that is how they always go about like saying like, well, well, you know, if it wasn't for this, this, if it wasn't for that, this, if it wasn't for this, that. It's like, okay, nigga, you talking about shit from the 1920s, but nigga, you a millennial. And one of the things I've always said when it comes to black people is that's fine and good that this whole entire systemic racism actually exists. That's all fine and good. We'll just run off your logic. What have you done as black people to change the perception, to have people change their perception of you? What have you done as black folks so people can change their perception of you? Because at the end of the day, there's still that change that you have to make for other people to change their perception of you. If you can't make that change, if you can't make that change, then you'll never make it in this world. If you can't make that change, you'll never be anything in this world. The sad part about that is I run into a lot of black people, a lot of niggas that'll just a lot of niggas that say the dumbest, most ridiculous shit on why they can't. It's always they can't, or it's the white man's fault. And it's funny how like it's always the white man's fault, but there ain't no white people around them holding them down. There ain't no white people in their vicinity that's stopping them from getting on a bus and going there taking their asses to school. There ain't no white people holding you back from living your dreams. There's no white people holding you back from all this shit. It's basically just economic or the lack of drive to do so. This is typically the problem that I have with a lot of African Americans for the fact that they use everything else as an excuse to not want to better themselves. They point at everybody else for their shortcomings instead of actually looking within themselves to actually improve upon themselves. This is one of the many problems that I have with that. And the sad part about that is like like I said, you do have your now and again, you do have your random Latinos, your random Afro Latinos, you have your random, Caribbean Afro Caribbeans, you have your random Africans, but at the end of the day, on a whole as a whole, they tend to do really really good with themselves. And I've always found it funny how we want to make up excuses about they always getting handouts. No, you're getting handouts. You're getting the most handouts out of all of them. And the sad part about that is black people always want to point fingers or make excuses for why their culture is failing or why everything else is not going so well. And I've always said, look, I look at it like this. So you're trying to tell me systemic racism is holding you back. But this African that just got here off the boat is not only excelling in college, but he's also excelling Asian guys in college, Asian people in college. Are you serious right now? Systemic racism, how? Systemic racism, how? And it's one of those things where it's like they always try to use the systemic racism thing, but you got other countries where there's a bunch of other black people in where all the black people are doing really good. It seems to be like, countries like America where niggas ain't doing so well or niggas ain't doing so hot. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, Great Britain has its moments, but at the end of the day, more niggas in Great Britain actually do good by themselves than they do in the United States, statistically, or should I say per capita. More black people do better for themselves in Great Britain per capita than they do in the United States. The same thing goes for Canada. And the sad part about that is I've always found it interesting how, you know, how black people in the United States always want to make all these ridiculous assumptions, all these ridiculous excuses, all these all these ridiculous proclamations about why they can't do something. Because the last I checked, uh, you can't do something wasn't a part of the I had a dream speech. I can't was not a part of the I have a dream speech. Last I checked, and white people holding me back was not a part of the I had a dream speech either. Any of this rhetoric that all the black people do, like my favorite one is when you talk about black on black violence, you'll get black people that say, well, black on black violence don't exist or black on black violence is fiction. Okay, so those 4 to 5 kids that got shot Memorial Day weekend, by another black person is fiction. Right. Fiction. Yeah, because they didn't really die. It's fiction. Even though they're dead and their families are mourning their lives. And it's shit like this that just blows my mind when it comes to black people. And it's like they always want to make up excuses. Or my other favorite one they'll use is, well, what about white people? What about Asian people? How about what about your fucking self? Those groups aren't having the same fucking problems as you are. They're doing good comparative to you. You're the ones with the problems. You're the ones that need to fix your problems. Quit trying to point at other groups. And the sad part about that, when they make equivalents like that, it's like you're pointing at Asians, really? Asians, Asians. The one that's running the shops, that's keeping the lifeline going in your neighborhood that you don't seem to want to do, or you seem like you're too stupid to do. Asians. Really, dude? Really? You want to compare yourself to Asians where you don't even have the economic backing, nor do you have the education to compare yourself to Asians? You want to compare yourself to Asians. Or you want to compare yourself to white people. They have a better economic upward mobility than you. I mean, there are some that, that are stuck where they are, but for the most part, they tend to always want to they always want to rise up the ladder. They have the drive to rise up the ladder. The sad part about that, a lot of niggas don't have the drive to rise up the ladder. They just want to stay where they are. And that's the cold hard truth. And nothing's more sad than a nigga that just want to stay where they is. Or nothing's more sad than a nigga that want to be mediocre. It sucks, but it is what it is. Because the sad part about that, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, Black lives only matters if you're a woman or you're gay. That's the only time Black lives matter, is if you're a woman or you're gay. Niggas are expendable. If you a male and you black, you're expendable. You're basically here nothing more than to be a big ass stereotype and to do their bidding for them so they can basically paint you in a negative light. The faster y'all figure that shit out, the better off y'all will be as human beings. The sad part about that is niggas always want to live up to these stereotypes. It's funny how I've seen more niggas in line for an iPhone, the last iPhone sale, than I see out there protesting for Black Lives Matter. Now I know I just said that, it's not for black people, but it's funny how that works. When there's more niggas standing in line for an iPhone than there is niggas out there for niggas' rights, basically. Or niggas in betterment. There's more people standing in line for that than there is people who actually want to better themselves. And then the sad part about that, when you black and you want to better yourself, or you want to tell black people to tell black people to better themselves, you got to be a lame, or you got to be all this extra shit, because that's indoctrination right there within itself. All that, you lame, or you this, that, and the other, or you need to get educated, that's all indoctrination. All indoctrination from the McGraw-Hill book series that y'all niggas read on a regular basis. Sad part about that is, when you actually read those books, the whole entire history is not even in those fucking books. You got to read more than just those books. You got to do more than just go to your history classes, because there's more to your fucking history than in those McGraw-Hill books. That's the problem that I have with niggas. They always want to make excuses for why they can't succeed in life. They want to make excuses for why they can't get their hell selves out the damn hood. They want to make excuses for why it is they're in the mediocre position they're in. They want to make excuses for why they want to commit crimes. They want to make excuses for why other niggas commit crimes. Instead of making excuses for all this shit, how about you just better yourself? Just better yourself. And attempt to help the motherfuckers around you. If the niggas don't want help, then just work on yourself and the niggas that want the help. Don't waste your time on motherfuckers, ain't shit niggas that don't want the damn help. Never waste your time on ain't shit niggas that don't want the damn help. That's a home that I have with a lot of black people, is that they get themselves into these messes and then they want to make excuses on why this is what it is. Okay, that's nice. We're not talking about white people. We talk about you, nigga. Fuck them. We talking about you, nigga. Better yourself. Well, the Asians commit crimes. The Asians also have a better economic mobility than you too. Wrong false equivalent. Because the sad part about that, I don't see no nigga. I don't see a bunch of niggas with the same economic prosperity as Asians. So I'm gonna need you to miss me without nonsense. And the sad part about that is I'm all about fair. I'm all about being fair and balanced. What I don't like is niggas that always want to make excuses for why they can't do something, or they'll bring up past history shit that they're far removed from. And the sad part about that is, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, what are you doing as a human being? What are you doing as a nigga to improve yourself? What are you doing as a nigga to make yourself the better version of yourself? What are you doing as a nigga to change everybody's perception of you? And if the answer is nothing, then you should just probably go off and die. Because I always said, if you're going to be an ignorant nigga, you deserve to be treated like an ignorant nigga. I believe in Darwinism. I don't believe in kissing your ass or making excuses for why I fuck up. I don't make excuses for why I fuck up. I don't blame it on a white man for why I fuck up. I blame it on myself. I fix it and I move on. That's typically how I work. That's the problem that I have with niggas. That's the problem that I have with a lot of people in this fucking world. They niggas sit here with their head in their asses or their heads in the fucking ground, thinking that they're smart. Niggas live with their heads in the ground, thinking their heads is in the clouds. That's simply how it works. You think you're flying, but you're actually buried. Think about that shit. And nothing agitates me more than when I hear black people just get themselves into the dumbest shit or make excuses for why they're in the dumbest shit that they're in, when in fact you can actually change that shit. And then you get niggas that'll make up excuses for, you don't understand my life. No, nigga, I understand your life. I understand that you're a failure in life. I understand that you need to better your life. I understand that you need to stop making excuses and stop being a bitch nigga. I understand that shit. Because the sad part about that is at the end of the day, we got all these niggas that always talk all this shit about, them having a hard life, when in fact, there's motherfuckers out here that have even harder lives that make it big. Hell, there's a famous actor that was homeless. There's several famous actors that was literally homeless before they even got their big break. There's several singers and artists and rappers that were homeless before they even got their big breaks. Hell, I think one of the new age rock bands, their lead singer was a grifter, and the other ones, their lead singer was literally a heroin addict or something like that, a homeless heroin addict. And the sad part about that is, I don't want to really dox her or bring her up, but she did write a book about it. I know a woman who literally raised herself from the time she was like fucking 7. Because her parents weren't around and her parents were addicts. She's doing good with her life. She's not, and the sad part about that, she will admit she's not where she wants to be, but she admits that she's working towards being where she wants to be. And the sad part about that is she actually wrote a book about it, and y'all should definitely go check that shit out. Because she literally raised herself. She literally went through a life of hell to get to where she is now. And the sad part about that, I'm shocked she even got to where the hell she is now. I am very shocked she got to where she got now. Because the sad part about that, I listened to her story, I read her book, and it's like one of the most craziest, most things where like you would think, okay, this chapter, she just had to lay down and die. She just had to give up and die, right? She just had to just quit, right? No, she didn't quit. She persevered and she kept it moving and she kept going and she made herself a better human being. Like I said, she'll tell you today she's not the best where she could be, but she's trying. She's still trying to actually ascend that. She's actually still trying to ascend that ladder. Now, the sad part about that is I will admit that she has damaged goods, but at the end of the day, at least she does try. Which is the overall thing that I always tell people to do. Try to better yourself. Don't act like you're going to better yourself. Try to better yourself. Because the sad part about that, you get a lot of motherfuckers that'll act like, they don't know what's going on. And they always want to pretend like they know what's going on. They want to always act like always want to act like they know what's going on. And the sad part about that is they know nothing about what's going on. They don't even try to know anything about what's going on. And they want to always act like they know what's going on. They always want to act like they know what's going on. And the sad part about that, even the most educated niggas fall victim to this. Even some of the most educated niggas in the hood fall victim to this thing too. It's like the funniest shit in the world, like watching this shit. Well, I'm educated and I know this. You should read books. And this is why you still have a slave mentality. You read books, but you still have a slave mentality. That makes a lot of fucking sense. That's a fucking oxymoron. And the sad part about that is if you actually read the books like you claim you read, you wouldn't have a slave mentality. It's just facts. I can think of countless stories and countless people that I've met in my life that had worse lives than niggas. Hell, I was raised in a third world country. I had a worse life than you, and I'm still doing good by myself. I still managed to take my ass to college. I still managed to actually finish college. I still managed to make a life for myself. The problem is, everybody else wants to make excuses for why they can't do some shit. Sad part about that is, well, I can't afford college. There's these things called grants and loans, and Sally Mae, bitch, you can go to school. Don't be a bitch nigga. Take your ass to school. Well, I don't want everybody in the neighborhood to think I'm lame. Well, so fucking what? Do you want to be lame on the streets and be an 8 shit nigga? If you don't want to be that, then shut the fuck up and apply for school and apply yourself. Fuck what they got to say about you. It's all about you. Because the sad part about that, something I always notice about black people is they worry about what all other niggas got to say about them. They worry about how niggas is going to rate them or how niggas are going to talk about them. When in fact, you shouldn't even be worried about that shit. That's not even your worries. Your worries is your fucking self. Niggas always worry about whatever other people got to say about them. But they never really worry about themselves or, improve upon themselves or making themselves the better versions of themselves. They always want to make excuses for why they are who they are and why they and some bogus reason on why they can't make it in life. I don't like niggas that act like they can't make it in life. I don't like niggas that, pretend like all this stuff is holding them back or all this invisible shit is what's holding them down. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still a bit of the redlining thing going on till this day, but at the end of the day, you can still take your ass to school. That redlining doesn't stop you from taking your ass to school and getting a continuous education. It doesn't in the least bit. Hell, that shit actually helps you a lot, especially if your mom is a broke bitch. Especially if your mom's a welfare queen. That shit will help you a lot. Less your mom makes, if you're under a certain age, if you're under I think it's 26 or 28, less your mom makes, the more grants you get. And that's less money that you have to actually pay back. It's that simple. And the sad part about that is, the less your mom makes, the more your school loans you get. Because at the end of the day, if you're under a certain age, it's based on your mother's income. And the sad part about that, if you don't have any parents and they all passed away, winner, chicken dinner, nigga. But, we live in a society where nobody wants to improve upon themselves and everybody wants to act like a victim, even though them niggas wasn't raised victims. Last I checked, when you came out the womb, you weren't a victim when you came out the womb. You don't become a victim until you let yourself become a victim. Nobody can do to you what you don't let. Nobody can do to you what you don't let them do to you, for all intents and purposes. So if somebody's doing something to you, or you're letting if somebody's doing something to you or treating you a certain way, you're letting them treat you that way, and you're letting them do that to you. And 9 times out of 10, you probably believe it, You probably had that mentality where it's like, well, this is all I'll ever amount to be, and this is all I will ever be. So I might as well just suck it up and be this. And the sad part about that is the worst mentality to have in your whole entire fucking life. That is the overall worst mentality to ever have in your damn life. Because the sad part about that is, if you're going to live life like that, if you're going to live life like that, then you're a sorry motherfucker. You deserve everything that comes your way. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. You're a sorry motherfucker, and you deserve everything that comes your way. Because I can't see myself acting like a victim on that bullshit for all intents and purposes. I can't see myself acting like a victim in the least bit. Because I'm not a victim. I'm a winner, not a fucking victim. I want to succeed in life. I'm not a fucking victim. This is the problem that I have with a lot of black people. You always want to play the victim card. And the sad part about that, only people that's beating you right now are white women playing victim. When in fact, and this is one of the many things that blows my mind when it comes to white women. You hate white people, you hate white men, but last I checked, there was a white man that was in on creating you. You hate white men, but it's the white men that gave you the creature comforts that you enjoy and love this day. For you to actually be able to open your mouth out the side of your mouth to remotely, say the stupid shit that you can about white men. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't have the pedestal to stand on or the mic to actually speak into to talk shit on them. That's the cold hard reality today. And that's the thing that makes me laugh about white women. Like, oh, well, white men are so privileged. And his famous words of Bill Burr, yeah, as you're sitting in this hot tub right next to me, as you're sitting in this jacuzzi right next to me. Right. That makes fucking sense. And it's one of those things how, all the white women who always make up all the excuses or always want to, white women that make up all the excuses for why, white people are bad or white people this or white people that are always the ones that, they got the most in life. They're always the most pampered motherfuckers in life. Like, the patriarchy and, white men are holding us all down and shit like that. Bitch, you're in a Beverly Hills mansion and you're trying to tell me that the white man's holding you down. Are you fucking serious, bitch? Only thing holding you down is that fucking wine box that you're drinking out of. Or only thing holding you down is the pharmaceutical drugs that you want. That's typically how a lot of this shit works. Because the sad part about that, nothing pisses me off more than hearing a bunch of excuses and with no solutions to the fucking excuses. I hate that shit. Don't bring me no excuses. Bring me what you want to fix in life. Bring me all the stuff that you want to actually do in life to better yourself in life and quite possibly better your community in life. I don't want to hear all this extra bullshit or this out of touch shit from both niggas and white women. Like, because the sad part about that, like I said, the white women that always talk the most shit about the white men always are most privileged bitches in the whole entire world. I'm being held back. Okay, yeah, but you still live in a mansion. I don't make as much as men. Okay, but you still live in a mansion. I'm oppressed like black people. Okay, now, bitch, you went too fucking far. You're not oppressed like black people. You've never been oppressed like black people. If you go back in history, you've never once been oppressed like black people. You've always been treated like milady. Get up off your high horse or your soapbox and actually act like you got some fucking sense. Same thing goes for niggas. Act like you got some fucking sense. Because at the end of the day, what you can't sit up here and tell me is that there's somebody holding me back, some invisible force holding me back. So where was this invisible force when I was going to college? Where was this invisible force when I opened the doors to Tren Labs studio? Where was this invisible force when I took over the family business? Where was this invisible force when I became an operator at a security firm? Where was this invisible force when I started the security software company? Where was this invisible force? Where was this invisible force when I finished, when I went to Russia to go to school to finish school? Where was this invisible force when I went to Great Britain to go to school? Where was this invisible force when I went to fucking fucking Canada, Toronto to go to school? Where was this invisible force that was holding me back that I just don't see? What I see is a bunch of copping out. What I see is a bunch of motherfuckers that don't want to better themselves. What I see is a bunch of lazy, no good for nothing motherfuckers who don't want to improve themselves, always want to make excuses on why they're in the situations they're in. That's all I fucking see. The faster y'all figure that shit out, the better off y'all be in life. I don't care that your mama was a welfare queen. That doesn't make it so that you could be an A-shit nigga. That right there should make it so to give you the fucking drive to better yourself. Because your mama was a welfare queen, you don't want to live like that, nor do you want your kids to live like that. So that should drive you to do fucking better. If you're having those kids. Because I always said, at the end of the day, just because you didn't have a father, that doesn't mean you can't be a great father. Just because you didn't have a father doesn't mean you can't be a father or can't be a great father. Because at the end of the day, I look at it like this. Just do everything the exact opposite of what that nigga did. And you'll be better off. But niggas don't want to do that. Niggas want to make up excuses. Niggas want to make up all type of bogus shit from history that they're far fucking removed from. Nigga, you're not a slave. Quit acting like a fucking slave. Get yourself off the fucking plantation. Quit acting fucking stupid. Well, Tico, this. No, fuck you. Quit acting like a little bitch nigga. Get your fucking balls and take control of your fucking life. I'm tired of niggas doing this shit. And I'm tired of these white women running around here talking reckless. So you got white women running around here talking reckless. You got niggas up here making excuses for why they can't better themselves. How do you like that dichotomy? White women out here talking reckless and niggas running around here like they can't do nothing better with their lives, making excuses on why they can't better themselves. Because the sad part about that, if every single black person had that same mentality, we wouldn't have our Sidney Poitiers, we wouldn't have our Halle Berrys, we wouldn't have our fucking Zoe Zeldanos, we wouldn't have our fucking Amara Negra, we wouldn't have any of those motherfuckers to look up to. We wouldn't have our Cicely Tysons, we wouldn't have our fucking Morgan Freemans, we wouldn't have our damn Idris Albas. There wouldn't be no fucking Denzel Washingtons. There wouldn't be none of these niggas if they had that mentality. Kobe Bryant wouldn't be Kobe. Kobe Bryant we wouldn't be calling Kobe Bryant the Black Mamba. There wouldn't be no Michael Jordan if he had that same mentality as you. There wouldn't be no Magic Johnson if he had that same mentality as you. It's that simple. Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't be Whoopi Goldberg if she had that same mentality as you. It's shit like that that blows my mind. Because at the end of the day, it's funny how all these rich motherfuckers who got everything in life always sit up here and talk about how they're oppressed they are. Like, bitch, you're worth millions. What oppression? It's just shit like that that just blows my mind. It really is. It blows my mind how black people can always put themselves in predicaments and make it sound like, this is the reason why we're stuck in this situation. This is the reason why this. This is the reason why that. Like, and it's like, no, nigga, cut it out, nigga. I'm gonna need you to stop with this bullshit. I'm gonna need you to miss me with that nonsense. Because all this shit, I'm gonna need you to just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, what can you do? Better yourself. Well, what about the white man? White man ain't got nothing to do with this shit. Better yourself. White man ain't yourself. You're yourself. Better yourself. And it's one of those things where like they use every single fucking excuse in a book. I tell you, to always want to put themselves in situations. What's up, America? Sorry I missed you. They put everything. They do everything in their power to always make excuses for why they can't get ahead in life or why they're stuck where they are. And the sad part about that is, all you got to do is just have the drive to do what you need to do. Because the sad part about that, like I said, if Kobe Bryant didn't have the drive to do what he wanted to do, he wouldn't be the Black Mamba. If Michael Jordan didn't have the drive to do what he wanted to do, he would be we wouldn't be buying up these Jordans right now. Same thing goes for like Kevin Garnett and all the other these niggas, especially Allen Iverson of all people. So the sad part about that is it's always one of those things, and it don't even just extend to the NBA. It extends to like the NFL, the baseball league, the hockey league, you name it. Basically, there's a bunch of niggas in all these sports that's doing good for themselves. Sad part about that is, why aren't you doing good for yourself? Hell, there's niggas that, instead of actually signing with actual major record labels, started their own fucking record labels and did their own damn hustle, and they got to where they are. It is what it is. But, people always want to make excuses on why it is they can't do things in life and why it is, they're being invisibly held back. Really, nigga? Really, nigga? Really, nigga? Because I always laugh about people. I always laugh at people when they say that shit. When I like, nigga, I went to school. How about you? Well, it's different. No, it's not different. Well, you had the finances to do so. No, nigga, I actually paid out of pocket for my fucking schooling. I actually worked just so I could pay for my school. And I usually paid in advance for my schooling. Basically, I used to work every day so I could pay for my next semester. By the time that semester rolled around, or by the time the fall season came, or the summer season came, or the spring season came, or whatever semester rolled around, it was already paid off by the time I got there, or before I even finished, or before I even finished it, it was already paid off. And I always find it asinine how people always want to make excuses on why they can't do something when in fact there's a work study program and you can actually pay for your shit, and or you can do that plus go get a job to pay for your shit if you're that serious about school. That's one of the many things that I've always blown up. That's always blown my mind when it comes to black people, because they'll sit up here and make exorbitant amounts of excuses, but it'll come up with zero solutions. Like, make that make sense to me. You mean to tell me you can come up with 500 excuses, but you can't come up with one solution? That makes sense how? And it's just stuff like that just blows my mind. But yeah, I would like to thank everybody for joining me, all the silent ones and lurking in the background, and Americus. Have a great Labor Day, and be good and be blessed and do good by yourself, and always improve yourself. Always be a better version of yourself, and always be willing to improve yourself. Always be willing to learn from your mistakes and your shortcomings and your past life. Forgetting about your past life is like building a house on quicksand. You need your past life for a foundation to better yourself. What happened to you in the past is very important for what's going to happen to you in the future. It's facts. Don't start trying to build a foundation. Don't start trying to build a building on top of quicksand or on top of a non-existing foundation. Better yourselves, and always keep an open mind to improve upon yourselves, and always be willing to take every opportunity to improve upon yourself that comes your way. Because sometimes the window open and a lot of people don't pay attention to it. Sometimes the window's open for a short period of time and nobody wants to pay attention to it. But the sad part about that, when they miss it, now they want to complain about it not being fair. You should have paid attention to your surroundings. You probably could have caught that window being open. Now you got to wait, hopefully, for the next window to be open to get you out of the mess you're in. And the sad part about that, nobody ever pays attention to shit like that. But again, I digress. Y'all have a good day. Have a good Labor Day and eat good. Live long and get your party on. Adios.